Okay, well, windshield should be here tomorrow, and I've got all of the front brake lines removed, so I'm just concentrating on one section at a time. Man, I know I pride myself on keeping my driveway messy for this whole shenanigans, but I really probably need to clean up. This is to the point of being dangerous. But anyway, all right. So I do have this rubber brake hose installed, but it's not permanent because obviously I'm going to switch the master cylinder out. So I'm not going to be using that one. But we're going to start with the first brake component, or brake line component. So here was the first setup here. It went from that hose along in there to the distribution tee, which was mounted right there. So I need to roughly match this length of hose here. So now a lot of people straighten these out, but you don't have to. I don't see the point in it. No, you're not going to see it unless it's under the car. Maybe the part's like right up by the master cylinder, yes, but I do not see the point in straightening these lines out. I mean, if you're that picky about stuff being perfect, what's wrong in your life? What do you feel so out of control of that you have to have that much control over everything else? So I'm just gonna give myself a little leeway, and I'm going to match this, that, match it up, and bend it back down this way. Just match it up here. Go down to about right here. And right here. And that's going to be my cutoff point. There it is. Found it. Now I gotta measure that again. Give myself a little leeway. And there we go. Peek at it. Definitely gonna have to score it up good, but just to match it up. Now next. Okay, so I've looked it up, and it looks like, as I would assume, but you never know, that the front-facing reservoir services the front brakes and the rear-facing reservoir services the rear brakes. I've read that sometimes that's reversed, but that wouldn't make any sense to me at all. But apparently in this model, that's what's what. So let's just grab this joker. It's gonna be hard to do with one hand. Okay, hopefully that'll hold. So it's gonna have to go so I'm gonna start a bend about here. Okay, so one thing you can do, I saw a trick, is you can actually, if you don't have a bender, which I do, I just don't want to mess with it, you can use an old can, like this. This better angle here. And you can just bend them around, like that. Gonna put one coil in there. That. Okay, there we go. Not too bad, huh? Now let's put her up here. Yeah, can't remember if I said this, but this is the NiCop, the nickel copper. That's why I'm so easily able to bend this. If you're using actual steel lines, number one, I don't know why you would do that, because, and I only recently learned this, brake fluid is corrosive. Steel is constantly being eaten by your brake fluid. It takes forever, but this stuff is cheaper and it's not corrosive. So why would you not use this? I don't understand that. Anyway, that's why this was able to bend so easily. So I just, let's see if I got close to my measurements. All right. Switching hands here. Get her here, see where the union is gonna be, right there. Yep, it helps if you don't. There we go. So I gave myself some leeway. So now, trying to, there we go, that'll work till it doesn't. So I know I need to kind of come this way a little. A little more. Okay. And there we go. And for the parts cleaner, my cheap Amazon $25 parts cleaner. Here's the distribution block for the front brake setup, and a little Dawn and a little Harbor Freight super heavy duty degreaser, and water. All right. The wife's gonna be so angry because I'm in the kitchen. So, yeah, start it up.
What are you doing? Cutting a cow in here?
I'm cleaning a part in a parts cleaner. Oh yeah, that's much better. If I can get it out. Much cleaner everywhere around. Okay. Because I do intend on reusing this. Hopefully the sound of the parts cleaner isn't too loud. That's the background sound. But I went ahead and tried to start on the back brakes now. And I disconnected that rubber hose going to the driver's side rear wheel cylinder, hooking up to the main line. And as you can see here, that's where it was hooked up. It was really tough and tight on there, so I had to get the vice grips, so I won't be able to save any of that stuff. Then I moved on to the wheel cylinder. This one cracked open like it had just been serviced last year. And I lucked out there. Got the line wrench, and it just unscrewed just fine. No problems. And then whenever we move on to the next one, which is coming up here, just a few seconds. That one, not so easy. No, I'm sorry, that's the same one. Sorry, poor editing. I just kind of threw this together really quickly. Yeah, cracked it open, no problems. Now, oh yeah, I moved on to try and loosen it from the splitter or distribution, so that main line hooks up to the rubber hose because it has to be flexible because of the rear axle. Then that rubber hose hooks up to a distribution block, which then branches it out via steel lines to each wheel cylinder, left and right. Both of those were, I had to get the vice grips and tear those out. And that's what's in the parts cleaner. I did eventually get it, got that little block off, and no problem with that. My dog's growling back here because he wants a blanket. Okay, then moving on to the other line going to the distribution center, or distribution block, I mean. Slow and steady. There was fluid in there. There was fluid in the lines. Now I'm on the wheel cylinder side of it, and that sucker, that was tough. I definitely rounded that fitting off. So definitely don't do this with the intention of saving any of the fittings. They're really cheap, and you're probably gonna mess them up. Good news is I'm down there looking at the frame real close as I've ever looked at it, and it's in really good shape. This really was a California car. It was registered in California, and the frame just simply has surface rust. Definitely a completely different story than the 50 Coronet that I purchased that you'll see in other videos. I am worried about these drums, though, the infamous Chrysler rear drums, because if it was this difficult getting the fittings off of these wheel cylinders, then it's going to be, ugh. Anyway, now what am I doing here? Oh, so now I've snaked the new line all the way down through. I haven't attached it yet with the clips, so I'm just kind of measuring it out. And it goes all the way up. And I gave myself a little extra. I figure I can always cut some off. But you can't add it. Well, you can, but each coupling is another potential leak source. So I want this new brake system, even though it's a dual master cylinder, I want it to be, I want it to have less points of connection, less potential leaks. And again, that has not been attached with clips. So don't sit there and think that's how I'm going to run that line. So doing the brakes on the Belvedere, replacing all of the brake lines and eventually all the wheel cylinders and springs and stuff. This is the rear brake distribution block, right? So the main brake line goes from the master cylinder in the front all the way to the back, and it hooks up, it joins this hose on this end, which then this hose with this end joins this distribution center, and then another metal line goes to each wheel cylinder. But look, so I cracked that open. It's getting the light here. Let's see. That is why it's important to replace especially these rubber hoses. But if you have your old brake lines and the car's been sitting for any length of time, this is definitely a reason to replace this stuff, because it'll just collapse. I'm gonna see if I can blow through it, see what comes out. Can't blow anything at all through it. So, do something else here. So I'm just curious, keep seeing that these lines can collapse. They can look fine, collapse. Wow. Look at that. Look how tiny that opening is. I wouldn't necessarily say that's collapsed, but that is solidified brake fluid. So if I flushed the system and got the brakes to grab and would think, there'd be pressure, so it'd work, and I might think my brakes are good. Even replace the wheel cylinders and everything else, hell, even the master cylinder. But one day, that tiny little hole, just like the arteries, with heart disease and everything, coronary artery disease, same thing. One day that would clog up and it would not work anymore, and you're screwed. No brakes. So that's why I skimp out on a lot of things. But man, it's hot out here. I think it was like 101 today. Brakes is not something, that's why I'm replacing this. It's been terrible, it's been hard, it's been tedious. And it's not that bad really, but that's why I'm doing it, because doing all this work on this car for what? To slam on the brakes one day and total it or kill someone else or myself? No, thank you.